What's up, guys? Welcome to another Feedback Friday. Today we're gonna be looking at a wedding film by Jacob Reek. Jacob just sent me his very first wedding, and he did it for free for a friend. Kind of gave it to him as a gift, a wedding gift, because he wants something in his portfolio and they wanted a wedding film, so it worked out pretty well. He says, I really tried to create a story with the video, even though all of the shots weren't the greatest. Some were out of focus, some colors were hard to fix, which we'll talk about. Shakiness in the situation, etc. And he's super open to constructive criticism, so we're gonna dive into this. It is a 14-minute film, so we're going to kind of talk as we watch, and if we get to a point where we kind of feel like we've covered it all, we'll stop the video. But we'll just hit play, and I'll give my thoughts as we go.
Kevin and Brittany would like to welcome you to this celebration of their love for
Okay,
one
so
another.
let's talk about the opening shot.
Kevin
Jacob, I think there had to have been better shots. I mean, it's a 15-minute film. Your opening shot is what sets the pace for the rest of the video, sets the tone for the rest of the video. In this opening shot, we see someone behind there, and you know, there's a difference between mystery and misguidance, and I think it makes us feel like, well, who are we looking at? It's a very quick pan movement. It's flowers, and then it cuts really quick.
You to this celebration.
I mean, it cuts 2 seconds in, so it's not really a good establishing shot. I'm all about introducing the mystery at the beginning, right? Detail shots, but it's got to be done right. You got to introduce the bride and the groom and their details in a way that's cohesive.
Their love for one another.
That shot felt a little bit too quick.
Each of y'all have given something
your
special
auto
in their
exposure is turned
Kevin
on, and I can tell. Also, to begin the wedding film,
Kevin and Brittany would like
the
to welcome
pastor's
you to
voice
this celebration of their
peaks
love
at the
for
very
one
beginning.
another. Each of y'all have given
It evens out
something
and it sounds really
special
good, but
in their lives.
see, these are great detail
Your love
shots.
and encouragement will forever be appreciated.
Okay, first time seeing the bride.
Thank you
Shutter speed's a little too fast. When you see flickering like that from the lights, it means your shutter speed's too high, so you want to lower it to be double your frame rate.
for sharing in one of life's most sacred
But
moments.
that was the first shot of the bride. It was a group shot. It was a wide shot, and then it cut back to this. So, you know,
That's with them.
show the bride with importance.
May you be important in their lives tomorrow.
So in this one, the bride's in the far right side, and then we have our bridesmaids being the center focal point, and so we're not really sure who to look at. And then the photographer gets in the way. So I would just omit the shot or move so you don't have that
All of
problem.
life's lessons that you have learned may help
A
them
lot of
avoid
panning
some of
here.
life's
I thought there's a lot of panning and not really sitting still.
I'd like to read from First
See, I think that would have been a better first shot of the bride. It's more tight. You see her better, see her clearer, and it's very flattering. She's having a good time.
Corinthians 4 and 7. It's better known as the love verses or love scripture.
A little overexposed.
Not going to read it traditionally.
So we've seen that same
Love
shot,
is
same
patient
angle like
and
4
kind.
times now. It makes you wonder if there's
things are rough
more
together.
to see, or if there isn't.
Love is not jealous nor
A little
boastful, nor
overexposed.
proud, or
I'm loving the music. I'm loving the audio. Great
does not
storytelling.
demand its own way.
Colors are a little tungsten. I'd warm them
It's
up.
not
Add a lot.
irritable. Most importantly, it keeps no record of wrongs.
So all we've seen so far is the bride in this room
Love
drinking
does not
champagne with
delight
her
in
girls.
evil, but it
And it makes you
rejoices
wonder, we've seen this shot already, I would admit it.
Love always protects.
That was a very,
It always
very
trusts.
harsh stop.
It always hopes.
Not sure what that detail is of.
Persevere. Your love will require space to grow.
Okay, first time seeing the groom. And based on this, I have no idea which one he is. When you're introducing someone, anyone, it needs to be very clear who they are. The bride was kind of easy because she was the only one in a white robe. But this could be anyone. Also, again, the photographer. You know, you have all the room in the world. You can zoom in, get closer, get right next to her, shoulder to shoulder. If you're next to the photographer, she'll never be in your shot. Period.
Has to be safe enough to allow your hearts to grow and be revealed to one another. It must offer refreshment for your soul.
Okay,
and
back to the
renewal
bride.
for
Still
your
have no idea who the
spirit.
groom is. A little shaky.
It
I'm
has
not
to
sure
be
what
a
equipment you
space
were on.
of sacred honesty and attention, love and compassion.
Still no idea who the groom is.
At this time, I'd like to read.
So shots like this, you know, they're not good candids, they're bad candids. It's shots of the bride just like kind of waiting around talking to somebody, and then you're filming it and putting it in the video, and it really doesn't really show her happy on her wedding day. It shows her kind of confused. So I would just
Read a
omit
really
that
brief
completely.
Pueblo
The framing's a little off
blessing that I
too,
think
pretty
is
shaky.
perfect. I add my breath to your breath, that our days may be long. on
Still
this
not
earth,
sure who the groom is.
that the days of our people may be long.
So this shot's an easy fix. You just grab this clip, you warm it up, and then you pump a little bit of green into there. And that
That
will
we
look
shall
really
be
good.
one person. That we will finish this road together.
I think that was the groom. You're doing a lot of panning.
You guys,
Try pushing
join
in.
hands.
Looks a lot better. So, and even this shot, you can zoom in and crop the photographer out. She's only in that section. You can crop her out and just focus on the bride.
Do you, Kevin, promise in the presence of God and your family that you will stand by Brittany always?
I will.
Do you promise to have faith in Brittany and encourage her always?
I will.
Do you promise to be there to listen to her, to laugh with her?
I'd adjust your frame rate when you're shooting this to 60 frames per second.
Will
A
you
lot
work
of
with her
fast
as you
movements.
build
You
your
gotta
life
slow it down a
together
little
and
bit.
Support her always.
A lot of jitter.
Will you strive every day to make your relationship strong?
Audio just got super quiet.
And do you promise to be her friend, her love, and her partner for all your days? And Brittany, do you promise in the presence of God
That just
and
was
your
like all over
family
the place, man.
that you will stand by Kevin always?
I will.
Do you promise to have faith in Kevin and encourage him always?
So that shot too, you're showing off
Do
this
you promise to
gorgeous
have faith?
castle.
Do you promise in the presence
And we
of
never really
God
see
and your
it.
family that you
So
will
we
stand
see
by
a lot of
Kevin
grass, we see the walls. We want to see the
promise to have
castle, but
faith
you
in
kind
Kevin
of
and
get over to
encourage
the
him always?
overexposed sky. And
Do
then
you
comes
promise to be
this
there
shot,
to
it's still
listen to him,
overexposed.
laugh with him, and to hold him?
Pretty shot, would have loved that to be slower.
And will you work with him?
Very
to build a
slow,
life
beautiful
together
shot.
and support
Cumberland,
him always?
Cumberland Chapel.
Will you strive every day to make your relationship stronger? And do you promise to be his friend, his love, and his partner for all your days?
Pretty bad framing here. You know, you want them to be walking, you know, towards something, and they're kind of walking out of frame, and we're focusing a lot on this half. Just put the camera more to your right, and then just kind of angle it more so that they walk from the right of the frame to the left of the frame, as opposed to from the middle to the left of the frame. Just seems unnatural. It's also off canter, so in post you can just straighten that out so that your lines are even. Also a lot of jump cuts here, so I want to cut between these to detail shots, tight shots, mix it up.
Everyone, it's my honor to present to you the newlyweds,
I would just cut that shot out.
Mr. and Mrs. Markham.
That was a big moment that you just kind of cut a little quick there. So story-wise, here's what we've gone through so far. Okay, and I'm just trying to help you with the story. So far, the video started with the bride drinking champagne with her bridesmaids before the ceremony. It then went to the groom taking groomsmen pictures with his boys, and it took us a while to figure out who he was. And then we saw a lot of shots of the bridesmaids and the groomsmen taking those pictures. And we saw a couple chapel shots to transition to the chapel, and then we saw them walking down the aisle. We never saw the bride come down the aisle. We never saw the groom see the bride come down the aisle. And then it cut to the climax of the wedding day, being pronounced husband and wife. We saw that for 2 seconds and then it cut. And now we're seeing more chapel shots even though it already ended. So with a story, you want to build up to things, right? We're only 4 minutes in the video. We have 10 more minutes to go. And I think we've really seen the most important thing already, right? So you want to drag it up, build out to it, add mystery, create emotion through the shots that drive the story forward, as opposed to just kind of throwing your shots together on a timeline. So now we're going back to the aisle shots, which we already saw.
It's the best thing that I'll ever do. I get to love
I would love that to be about 5 times tighter.
you. It's a promise I'm
See, I love this with the song. It's very powerful.
never make good. Your heart I will choose. Forever I'm yours. Forever I do. I get to
That was a 30-second shot. The groom doesn't need that long.
I get to love you.
think you're in the wrong place for the bride. You want to be at the end of the aisle, shooting through.
The way you love.
Now, at this time, Kevin and Brittany have prepared vows that they're going to read to one another. So, Kevin, if you would.
Okay, so we're staying on with the ceremony. I'm cool with this.
I am undone.
There's just a lot of things I would cut out to tighten the storyline. We haven't even watched the full film yet, and I'm pretty sure that we could have made this a 6 to 8 minute video.
Brittany, for most of my life, I have been.
So that shot, here I'll show you. I'll just show you really quick. I'm just gonna show you really fast what this could look like. I'm gonna drag this into Premiere. Okay, so all you have to do to fix these types of clips, look at that. Like, I've been in Premiere for 2 seconds. I just added a lot of warmth, and look at the difference in her skin. Add some contrast, add some highlights, remove the whites. So boom, that's just color correcting. That's not even a grade yet. Look at the difference. It's just taking a few extra minutes in the edit. Now watch this. I'm gonna add a LUT. Add this LUT. So boom. That took me 3 seconds to do that. And look at the difference before, after, before, after. So much more flattering. Look at how perfect her skin tone's in. She looks tan, she looks great. And then she looks like a ghost here. Okay, so Jacob, just a few extra minutes, man, in the editing room can really help improve these colors and improve the storyline. Let's keep going.
For most of my life, I have been defiant. I have been stubborn. I have been outspoken.
But see that, like, cut that out. Like, cut right there. And then we just see this, like, jittering of her
I have been
veil.
outspoken.
Just cut it out.
I have been restless. Refusing to settle down, and at one point, giving up believing I would find someone. And then I met you.
Wonder if the groom's wearing a love.
Stubborn as me.
Okay, our first bridals of the couple.
I want you to know that I love your gentle
A little too
soul.
high. You're cutting off the bride's face. There we go.
Most
Better.
of all, I love you for making me whole. I promise to make you laugh.
A little robotic on your movements there. I think you're in the wrong spot. You want to be right next to the photographer shooting the sun right behind him.
Love you.
Brittany, if you would read yours.
Kevin, since the moment you came into my life, things felt complete. You are my constant.
Same with
source
this,
of-
man. Pull that into Premiere, Final Cut, whatever. Warm it up. Add some green.
support. You
Money.
are always there at the end of every day with open arms and a smile to pull me in to remind me not to take life too seriously. Today I stand before you thankful. Thankful you've shown me I can trust and rely on someone. I choose you to
Seen this shot a few
be
times
my
now.
husband, knowing there
And then
are
I don't know why, like, cut before the photographer jumps in the frame. Like, just shorten the clip.
trails we must travel and there are still mountains left to climb. I accept you as you are, and I give you myself in return. I promise to be there to tell you the colors you are unsure of. I promise to not, or try to not, get upset when you eat all of my snacks. I promise to always laugh with you even though I don't
I
always
would have
love to
loved the
admit
tighter
how
lens
you
on
are.
this. It's a gorgeous shot.
I promise to choose our marriage every day
It's a
and
fun
to
one.
consider you in all that I do. I promise to love you on our best days, our worst days, and every ordinary day in between. And that comes on my heart.
It's by the power.
Same with this, bro. Watch this. These colors a little bit more unnatural. We'll bring that in Premiere. Warm it up a little bit. Add some contrast, add some whites, a little shadows. Add our LUT. And boom, look at the difference, just warm, inviting. And then what you should be doing is rotating it just a little bit to fix that horizon. So it's nice and level.
Is vested in me by the great state of Ohio, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, that I now pronounce them man and wife. Kevin, you may kiss your bride.
Just cut out the prep before that, right? It's a fun shot. See,
I kept
like cut out that getting ready part and just cut to the shot.
going to give you this ring
Family shots.
as a symbol of my love.
as a symbol of my love.
As it encircles your finger,
As it encircles your finger,
may it remind you always
That's a pretty scene right there. I
that
love
you are
that.
surrounded by my love.
that you are surrounded.
Probably the best shot of the video. It's
This
gorgeous.
ring on her finger.
I just don't know what. Were you on the Ronin or the crane? It's just super robotic-y. I think you're using the controller, not just
And
the natural
Brittany,
movement.
please repeat after me. I, Brittany, give you this ring as a symbol of my love. As it encircles your finger, may it remind you always that you're surrounded by my love. May the Lord bless this marriage through all of your highs and your lows, providing strength and encouragement to you guys always.
Love that shot. This shot isn't super. Who are we looking at?
Well, here we are.
See, just
Kevin.
cut to there. Those colors.
Ready for
are
this?
bad. And you said like you don't need to include every shot. I think that's kind of the problem we're seeing here, man. Is you're throwing in every shot you took, but when you cut from this
Ready?
gorgeous, perfectly green scene
For this?
with great skin tones and great greens and great colors to that, like I just don't know why you do that. Like imagine I want to hire you for my wedding and then I see this, right? Like just when you're creating a wedding video, when you're highlighting the couple's wedding day, you only want to show the best of the best. And I think we're not gonna watch the whole thing, but I think this could have been a 6 or 7, maybe even a 5 or 6 minute video, more concise, and then just omit every shot that's duplicate. There's a lot of duplicate shots, a lot of similar shots. Just get rid of those, get rid of your bad shots, the out of focus, the shaky ones, and just stick to the cream of the crop, the best of the best shots. And that way their wedding video, as opposed to a longer video with, some good stuff, some bad stuff, they get a shorter, more concise, more powerful edit with only the best stuff. So they only see the best of their wedding day. That's what I would want as a client. For your first one, like it's a huge learning experience, right? Like you're learning how to capture romance and people in love, and then not just that, but tell a story with what you're given, as opposed to being able to direct and create the story your own. You're given the story, and you have to figure out how to record that and put it into a film. I think you're on the right track. The fact that you incorporated so much audio in this film just tells a lot about you. I think you're hungry for this. I think you want this. That audio is driving the story forward so well, and the music is good. But I think before you shoot your next wedding, you want to go through with your camera, with your gimbal, practice your settings, practice your shots so that you're not creating these robotic movements. Watch a few wedding videos so that way you can mimic and copy a lot of those movements of how to make the bride look flawless, the groom look great. And then in the editing room, tighten it up so it's a very powerful, romantic film. And then after you've edited, just spend a few more minutes color grading, just a few. I spent a few seconds doing that, and it made all the difference. Those little things will elevate your film and put you above your competitors, so make sure you take the time to do that. But Jacob, my man, good job. Dive into the course, learn more about your camera, learn more about how to use it, learn about your stabilizer, how to use it, and the only way to get better is to go out and practice, and like this, take this feedback and apply it to your next video. But guys, that's it for today. If you have any further questions for me or for Jacob, please let us know.
Hi, my name is Daria, and in this video, I'll be showing you how to set up a project render in DaVinci Resolve's Deliver page. I've already got a project open. This has been assembled in DaVinci Resolve's Edit page and then color graded in the Color page. So I am now ready to jump into the Deliver page by going to the very bottom of the interface and clicking on the little rocket ship that says Deliver to now access my Deliver page. The interface features just a few panels. On the left-hand side, we have our render settings. This is where you're going to be spending the majority of the time setting up your parameters. At the top, we have our viewer, which is showing you exactly what you're going to be rendering. And to the right of that, we have our render queue, which is going to contain a list of all the jobs that we're going to render. Underneath the viewer, we have two forms of the timeline. We have a thumbnail timeline, similar to the one that we saw on the color page, which represents every clip as its own still thumbnail image. And then under that is the edit page timeline, which shows you the exact relationship between the clips, their durations, the various video and audio tracks. At the very top of the page, we have the interface toolbar, which allows us to further customize the layout of the Deliver page. So for example, the render setting by default takes up the entire height of the page, but I can use the collapse button to the left of it to shrink the render settings and prioritize the bottom half of the screen to our timeline. But I will click this arrow to expand render settings so that I can see the full list of controls. An important thing to keep in mind before we jump into the details of the Deliver page is that it takes only 3 steps to set up a render job. Number 1 is going into the render settings and setting up your parameters as needed for your particular project. Number 2 is going into the timeline panel where you'll determine the duration of your render. So by default, the render is set to entire timeline. And then number 3 is clicking Add to Render Queue at the bottom of the render settings. This will place your job into the render queue panel in the top right corner. So just those 3 steps: render settings, timeline duration, and Add to Render Queue. Once all of your render jobs are ready, you can select Render All at the bottom of the render queue, and they will all be output to the location that you select. We'll begin with the render settings panel. At the very top, you can see a list of presets that comply with a series of various industry standards. On the far left, we have our custom preset. This offers us the widest set of options in terms of parameters. So it's entirely up to us to decide what video container we want to export in, what encoding language we want to use, our data rate, etc. To the right of that, we have a series of user-generated content video site presets. These presets were developed using the specifications offered on these websites, and in some cases directly in collaboration with those websites to produce the optimal settings for your videos. As you continue down the preset list, you can see that we have a series of master presets. We also have IMF video deliverables for high-end streaming services. A little drop-down arrow next to some of the presets allow you to specify with more precision where you're delivering to or what resolution you're delivering. So in this case, you can see that Disney Plus and Netflix streaming services are supported. Then as you continue down this list, we also support round-trip workflows in case you're working with collaborators who are not using DaVinci Resolve. These type of round-trip presets tend to generate 2 types of files. One will be a set of trimmed media of all your edits on the timeline, and the other will be an XML file that they can use to reconstruct the edit on their end. So this is a pretty popular workflow if you're acting as just a colorist on the project as opposed to an all-around editor or collaborator. I'm going to navigate all the way back to the left, and we will indeed set up a job based on a preset. So I'll have YouTube set to 1080p, but I'd like to modify it a little bit. So I'd like to raise the data rate so that the quality of the video is increased. If I want to have further control over my parameters instead of just relying on the preset, I can click on the word custom next to YouTube, and that will expand my controls back to the custom selection, but it will still carry across all of the preset settings from the previous YouTube selection. So when I click on the video tab at the top, I can see that it's already set to the QuickTime format, which is what YouTube recommends, in the appropriate H.264 codec. But here I can navigate to my quality controls, which refer to my data rate, and I could decide to increase this to 12,000. So I'll click on the numeric field, type in 12000, and that's pretty much all I wanted to do for this job. The data rate will have the greatest impact on the visual quality of your video and also on the resulting file size. Oftentimes when you're submitting a video for a festival, so there's usually like an online submission form, it will also give you a limit on your video size. And if you do a bit of math, you can sort of reverse engineer and calculate exactly what your data rate limitation is. And that way you can increase the quality of your video while still meeting the demands of that video upload site. Or likewise, if you find that you're going just a little bit over the limit, you know that if you reduce that value, those kilobytes, then you can actually shrink the size of your video file. So that's quite helpful. I will next address the name of my video. So you can see right now it's untitled, but I can navigate to the File tab in the middle of this panel and see that rather than using a custom name, which I can go ahead and type directly into the file name field, I can also select timeline name. And it's pretty good standard practice to give your timelines names that are appropriate to either the project name or the deliverable standard, and also include version numbers. So if you have a good naming convention, then it makes sense to use the timeline name a lot of the time. So I'll have that selected, and I'll also make sure that the location makes sense. So I'm going to click Browse, and on my desktop, I'm going to create a new folder. I'll call this Exports. Click Open to select it, and now this is where this file will be generated. Step 2 will be to review the duration of my render, and as I mentioned at the beginning, by default it's set to entire timeline, which I'm very happy with. So then I can jump to step 3, which is to add it to the render queue. And my first job has now appeared. To remind myself of what this job was intended for, I can click at the very top of the job in the header and rename it from Job 1 to, let's say, HD High Definition YouTube. And then click Off. So I can either start to render this right away, or I can continue to create new jobs with different render settings and add them onto this list. Another common use for the render page is to generate rushes or dailies for editors. So dailies are just compressed versions of your original camera takes. With dailies, you will usually assume that there's a master timeline, the audio has all been synced to the video takes, and there's also maybe a preliminary grade or perhaps LUTs, lookup tables, applied to the clips in order for the editor to see what the final colors are more or less going to look like. I should note that DaVinci Resolve has its own internal proxy generator. So if you're going to be editing in DaVinci Resolve, there's not really a reason to generate these types of external dailies. But in case you're collaborating with someone, or perhaps you have producers or a director who wants to watch these takes at home, then it makes sense to generate these lighter files. For this, I am going to use a custom preset. So I already have custom selected. I'm going to return to the Video tab on the left-hand side here. And I will indicate that I want all the video clips rendered not as a single video clip, but as a set of individual clips. So when I click individual, that means that every single take on the timeline is going to be exported as its own video. I'm going to keep the format as QuickTime. That's perfectly appropriate for transcoded media or proxies. But I will change the codec from H.264, which is a temporal compression. It tends to be quite heavy to play back in editing programs. And instead, I'll set it to an intermediary format, like, for example, Apple ProRes, and maybe lower my quality from 422HQ to something like 422LT. Something else that I might want to do when generating dailies is apply a data burn-in to the video. So this is various information that is burned into the video or rendered, in the actual pixel data that people can use as reference and also as a form of protection for the original video takes. So to access your data burn-in controls, you need to go to the very top of the program into the Workspace menu and choose Data Burn-in. You'll end up with this floating window interface. On the left-hand side, you have a series of parameters that you can enable to place onto the video. And on the right-hand side is your controls for those parameters, so you can change their appearance. I'm going to pick up this window by the header so I can see my viewer. And a lot of these parameters are quite common to include in the burn-ins, but this all kind of depends on who they're going to. So what I send to a director for review might be different from what I would send to a client who's reviewing a final video. In terms of dailies, I probably want to include the source timecode, which is going to show me the timecode of the original video clips. And that means that if we're assembling something like an online cut, we know exactly which clips we have to refer to and at what point in time. And then, of course, for that, we will also need the source clip name. So when I select that parameter, the next label appears in the viewer, and now I can see exactly what names of all the clips were. Something else I might want to do is to include a semi-transparent overlay to protect this footage, from being shared. So we have a set of custom text parameters, as well as a set of logo parameters. So if you did have a production logo, you can superimpose it as a watermark, and include that in your renders. I'm going to use custom text and simply notify people not to distribute this material. However, right now it's kind of shrunk at the bottom of the video, so it could potentially be cropped out. What I would like to do is make it a little bit bolder, a little bit more dominating in this frame. So I will go into the options of the data burn-in panel, and I will ungang the render text styles. And what that means is that the text styles for these parameters will no longer be identical. Instead, I can modify them as I wish on an individual basis. So I'm going to click that to disconnect them. And now I can resize my custom text, reposition it, and even change the font if I wanted to. We also have opacity controls for the background and for the text itself. So I'll probably want to make it semi-opacity. I'll type in 0.4. And now as I scrub through the clips, you can see that we have text disrupting, these clips from being shared. When I'm ready to hide this interface, I can click the X in the top left corner and continue with my render setup. One final thing I'd like to do is once again jump into the File tab to check exactly what my naming convention is going to be. It's a good idea when you're generating dailies or proxies that you use the original source names. That means that when you eventually replace them with your camera takes, that they will match up and instantly replace. You won't have to manually hunt them down. So I'll click source name. However, if you're aware that there are multiple cuts from the same source take being used in the timeline, then you might also want to indicate use unique file names. That way the files won't overwrite each other as they're being generated. If there is a file with the same exact name, it will then adopt either a prefix, which is a number sequence at the start of the file name, or a suffix, which will append itself to the end of the file name. And now I'm ready to click Add to Render Queue at the very bottom of panel. And once again, I'm going to change the name of the job so I can keep track of what it was doing. In this case, I will label job 2 as dailies. I'll probably want to use this setting again in future, so I'm going to save it as its own preset. I'll navigate to the top right corner of the render settings palette, and I will choose Save as New Preset. This is in the ProRes standard, so it makes sense to call these my ProRes dailies. Then I'll click OK. And I'll see that my dailies preset now appears to the left of the custom preset, and I can access this again and again. Something else to keep in mind in terms of selecting your export range is that if I did want to focus on just a selection of clips, I could use my in and out shortcuts, press I to indicate a start point, select a clip and press O, and you can see the duration is marked in the timeline at the very bottom of the page. And if you'd like to reset your in and out range, you can either use the shortcut Option X on a Mac or Alt X on a PC, or you could go to the drop-down menu at the very top of the timeline and switch from in-out range to entire timeline to reset it. If you have multiple timelines in your project that you would like to add to the render queue, you don't have to jump back into the edit or the color page to switch between them. You can stay in Deliver and use the drop-down at the very top of the viewer to switch between timelines. So in this case, I'm going to select an alternative cut of my trailer, and you'll see that will appear, and the data burn-in has stayed in place. So if I wanted to remove that, I could go back into my video tab, enter my advanced settings at the very bottom of this list. Here I can see that there is a section for the data burn-in, which by default will be set to same as project, which means that if I can see it in the viewer, then it will be included in my render. But I could also choose to bypass it by clicking on this dropdown and choosing none. I prefer to keep it on same as project, and instead I'd rather just go to my workspace menu at the top, select data burn-in, and then click the reset arrow in the top right corner to get rid of all these overlays. I'm going to collapse my panel, and I would like to add the render for this timeline to our render queue as well. So once again, I'll select a YouTube preset. This one I will leave untouched. I will click on Add to Render Queue, and now we have our third job. I'll call this my teaser trailer. By the way, you don't have to only concentrate on the timelines in your current project. You can actually have render jobs from various projects all lined up in the same render queue that you can then set off at the same time. If I go into the options menu of the render queue panel, I will find that there is an option at the top to show all projects. When I select that, this list becomes populated with a few other render jobs I created from a couple of other projects I had open previously. So that means that, without having to constantly start and stop my renders and open and close projects, I could just send everything to the render queue. And then when I'm ready to kick this off, I can open up Show All Projects, scroll across the list, and then hold Shift and click to select all of my jobs. And then select Render All when I'm ready. And the benefit of doing it this way is that you're not waiting for every single render to complete in order to kick off the next one. That way you could lose hours of time because, it could be several minutes or hours between you returning to the project to kick off the next render. With batches, as soon as one timeline is completed, it will immediately move on to the next job. So then you can keep it running overnight, and then wake up the next morning and everything's already completed for you. By the way, if you add a job and you decide that you want to change some of the settings, that's pretty easy to do. In the top right corner of every job, you will find a few icons. The X should be self-explanatory. You can use this to get rid of a job that you no longer want. But then the pencil next to that is an edit tool. So let's say after we completed our HD YouTube job and we added it to the queue, we realized that we want to change the resolution. I'm going to click on the pencil icon, and this job is now loaded in the render settings. I know that because we now have these 3 new buttons at the very bottom of the render settings panel: cancel, update job, and add new job. So I can now go through my video, audio, and file tab to determine, I actually want the resolution to be a little bit lower. I want my collaborators to review this for me before I upload it. So I'll set it to 720p. HD ready, and maybe restrict my quality to 8,000 instead of 12. I can now click on Update Job at the bottom of my render settings, and the job is now updated in the render queue, so I don't have to recreate it or re-add it to the list. And once I'm all done, I can select all of these jobs and click Render All. A couple of tips I can give you for setting up your render projects in case you're not feeling too confident about your render settings is to look at the destination, where your project is going. And usually you will find information there about what is expected from you. So for example, if you're uploading it to a website, there tends to be a page of recommended settings for uploads. If you're sending your video to a festival or to a theater, you can usually communicate with the organizers or perhaps find a submission guidelines page, which will also tell you what they expect from you in terms of formats and data rates. And then finally, if you're sending your video to something like a broadcaster or a streaming service, these can differ quite dramatically from one region to the next. So again, it's the best idea to talk to them directly and find out exactly what they're expecting from you in terms of video and audio deliverables. And of course, you can also come to the Blackmagic Design forums to get answers from our developers, from digital image technicians, and professional users of our software. Please make sure you check out the remainder of the videos in this series to find out how to use DaVinci Resolve for your projects.